I'm back on the suburbiculture site. The goal for this property is to produce as much of our food as possible, basically taking my grocery list and crossing things off that I don't have to buy anymore. I did a prior video where I showed our raised bed garden, and we're going to use that to grow your typical annuals, tomatoes, salad greens, and the like. Perennials and the long season stuff, it doesn't look like it right now, but they're all going to grow up here. So this is the north end of our lot, and you can kind of tell, hopefully, from this camera angle, but there's a very nice gradual slope that's south facing, and that should give us first an avoidance of frost pockets because the cold air can just drain off the ground, but also nice southern exposure and a lot of sunlight hitting that area. You can tell there is a busy road to the north of our property. I'm going to ring the outer edge of it with a sun-trapped shaped orchard, and the outer layer of that will be tall plants which will block views and hopefully the noise from the road. Inside of that horseshoe shape then leaves us room to do a round area where I intend to grow the long season crops. Let me show you the physical design. To start with, I've taken the site plan and dropped it into SketchUp here to show it to you both two-dimensionally and three-dimensionally, and I'll zoom in on the relevant portion for this orchard design. You can see in the site plan I've marked the existing trees as green circles. I'll show those here in 3 dimensions. The nice thing about this is that these are deciduous trees, mostly maple and oak, and in the summer they'll provide some nice shade from the west in particular, a little bit from the south but not too much. That should help to prevent everything baking in the heat. In the winter and the fall, when I want more sunlight over here, they will drop their leaves and allow full sunlight to come through. Let's talk about what I'm planting. For today, I am going to just focus on the U-shaped orchard piece of this design, or else this will become like a 20-minute video. So I'll save the details on the center area for later. This chart shows the plants that I've selected for the site, arranged from tallest to shortest, with everything from a Siberian pea shrub at about 15 to 20 feet, all the way down to some lupines and bee balms, which are under 2 feet. All of these plants are deer resistant. There's no such thing as a truly deer-proof plant. If they get hungry enough, they'll eat anything. But these are not plants that are generally known as being particularly appetizing for the deer. With any luck, they will hit a barrier of not especially appetizing plants and move along without going for the stuff in the middle that I really want to protect. This location is pretty far away from the main deer hotspot on our property, which is the southeast corner. This is sort of north-northwest. Even with that, I do need to figure out how to protect this from deer. We are building like a Fort Knox style fence around the raised bed annual garden. I can't afford to build that everywhere. I think I might try and do a living fence out of willow, assuming the deer won't eat them to the ground as little nubs when they're baby willows. If anybody has tried a living willow fence or has another suggestion for how to keep deer away from the orchard, please tell me. Show a view here with the willow fence around our horseshoe-shaped area. My goal is to have this be about 6 feet tall, but that'll be a little bit dependent on how well I can get the willow to grow in this area. I've intentionally included nitrogen fixers in this design, and these are shown here in blue. The reason is I won't be visiting this site very often, and I really want to keep it low maintenance. By including plants that can fix atmospheric nitrogen through partnership with symbiotic bacteria in their roots and get it into the soil in a plant-usable format, I eliminate a lot of the need I might otherwise have to add fertilizer here. To begin with, I've got my tallest plant, the Siberian Pea Shrub, acting as a barrier on the north side of this orchard. It is a nitrogen fixer, and because the ground slopes down from where they are planted, this should aid with further moving any nitrogen that they fix in their roots throughout the soil. Inside that fence, I'm going to place some pear and cherry trees. Next to those, I will put a couple of hazelnut plants. Birds are a healthy part of any ecosystem. For one thing, they keep insect pests in check. And I have included some plants in this design that specifically provide bird habitat. I've marked those here with the yellow highlight. Outside of the fence again, I'm going to put some bayberry. These are also nitrogen fixers, and having them in close proximity to my hazelnut plants further enriches the soil with additional nitrogen. Inside the fence, south of the hazels, I'm going to include some elderberry plants. Next to those outside the fence will be some chokeberry for bird habitat. Not quite done with my nitrogen fixers. I'm going to add some gumi plants inside the willow fence towards the south end, as well as some false indigo outside the willow fence next to the chokeberry. From there, I'm going to add some viburnum inside the fence, as well as some bush clover. Outside the fence, I finished this off with some beautyberry for further bird habitat. I've also considered bloom time to help support a healthy pollinator population, and I've marked here, kind of from left to right, as early spring through early fall, a timeline view of when all of these various plants are going to be in bloom. And you can see with this mix, I have something in bloom every season, from the plum and cherry trees in early spring all the way out to the bush clover in early fall. Last but not least, flanking the access pathway that's going to come in from the south, I will plant bee balm and lupine for both pollinator support as well as some additional nitrogen from that lupine. It may not look like much now. This will eventually, hopefully, be a pretty cool orchard that gives us food, looks appropriate for the neighbors, and does not make it look as if we have a full-on farm growing on our property. The last part of this design is going to really be focused on the northeast corner, where over time I would like to put in a walnut guild. So I can talk about that next time, but until then, I hope this was useful and interesting, and if you have any questions, post them below. Thanks.